Hey everyone, I'm Sredna and welcome to today's video. So I do a lot of nature and fantasy paintings and I like using watercolors and acrylics and along with some other little knickknacks in there. But that's mostly, what I go to for painting and stuff. And for this painting, I wanted to do a series on lotus flowers. And I actually did do that at an earlier point in time. So if you look at my older videos, there's one that showed a lotus flower commission that I did for a friend. And in that one, I had done, I'm trying to think, oh yeah, it was like stages of the lotus plant. So there was like the bud, like the middle stage, and then the like fully opened one at the end. And they were just so fun to draw and so pretty when you can like see all their petals and everything. And I looked at a lot of lotus pictures to find ones that would kind of give that sense that I was looking for. And so in this one, what really stood out to me was the reflection of it on the water. And I mean, any opportunity I get to use a bunch of blue colors, I will definitely jump on that bandwagon. So the blues really appeal to me in this one, and then it's also a purple lotus. And there must be like, well, yeah, I know there's like pink lotuses. I don't know if there were white lotuses, like what other colors they come from. The purple ones really stand out to me. So yeah, that was my intention with this piece, and I've done lots of flowers at this point. I'm sure I'll always paint flowers. They've always been one of those things where I know I'll never get tired of it, and I'm trying to think, is there anything else? Well, anything that is like plants and a bunch of like greenery, any like water scenes and that kind of stuff. I will never tire of those subjects. So when I'm like painting something, I'm thinking about, like before I go and paint it, like, okay, would this make me happy to stare at this for hours and hours as I try to get all these colors in there? Because a lot of the time it's staring at something in such like a super detailed way, and so if it's not like a subject I would enjoy staring at for hours, I'm like, probably not, probably wouldn't paint it. But there are like these kind of scenes like really appeal to me, and it's also like a nice break in between, because I've been doing a lot of this year, like my goal is to do a lot of like my own like takes on fairy tale works or like fantasy works in general. And those ones, like, the brain power, it's so much. There's just a lot of like fill in the gap work I have to do with those ones. So there's like the idea and like the story, and then there's characters, and then there's setting, and all the other extras that go into those paintings. So with those stuff that's in like the fantastical realm, where I have to like pick all these like pieces and kind of put together like a scene, that one, yeah, can like take me a bit of brain power to kind of think through all those things, and then like, okay, well, if I put this in this position, how would it react to the light here versus at this angle? And yeah, just a lot. Oh, I think that's the thing, because I was taking this SVS Learn course, and they were talking about that, like how there's times in paintings where you're using more of like your brain, and then there's times where you're using more of your eyes. And I think it was when I was doing the contour drawing lesson that they had mentioned like relying on your eyes more, and how important that is to draw what you see instead of what you think, because your brain will try to interpret it. And so I think for me, when it comes to doing like the more fantasy art that I do, that one is more of using my brain to think through all the things, because there's not really something exactly to look at with my eyes. I'm trying to invent that in my brain and then kind of like produce it out into the world. Whereas things like this, where it's like a flower or it's a scene from nature, where I can look at a photograph and then I can say, okay, here's the colors that they are, and then paint those colors, and here's the shapes they are, and make those shapes. That's using more of my eye. So it feels like a relief after I've been painting a lot of fantasy stuff to go to something that is more like it is what you see in nature based and stuff. So I like doing, but that being said, there are times where I'll be doing these pieces from like nature, and then I'll be like, you know what, like I want to do like a bit more. I want to do something like that I can use like my creativity to like make a scene that hasn't been seen, and then I can go off into the fantasy realm. So I feel like it's a good one. Maybe the juxtaposition between the two, it's a good variety so that I can kind of like hop between the two, and if I feel overwhelmed from having to come up with so many ideas in the fantasy realm, I can turn to my love of nature and relax in that and paint that. And then when I feel like I want like a bit more of a challenge, or I want to like stretch those creative muscles a bit more, then I can kind of invent those scenes that we don't quite see in nature and turn to the fantasy realm. So far it's been, yeah, just kind of like learning my way around those things. And yeah, the timing, I mean, I can't always, I do try to like make plans for these things. Like I have a plan for, okay, I want to do, well, I had like a year, my yearly goal of how many, well, did I have I think I did have like how many fantasy pieces. I think I said like 12, which was like once a month or something. Or maybe it was like 11, because I was like, well, I don't want to like work around the holidays in like December or something. But, and there's also like some art shows that I do in the summer that I wasn't sure if I'd be able to, how many paintings I'd be able to make then. But then like things changed, and then once I was, because I'm like trying all this stuff out, so I was like, well, okay, I'll set this goal for like 12, and then I noticed that I could do actually more like 2 a month, and I don't know if I'm at a stage where I could do like 1 weekly. I think that might be like a little too much, just because it's nice to have a break in between doing that stuff back to back. But so far with, yeah, the goals that I've kind of set, I feel like I'm doing fine with them. Probably doing a bit more than I was planning on, but overall, I think it's a good spot to be in. And so anyway, this is one of my weeks where I get to take a break from my fantasy stuff and get back into painting the beauty of nature and stare at pretty flowers for hours and hours. So there I go again, talking about my love of all things with flowers. There are so many really good poems out there about flowers. I think I'm gonna look through my book and see if I can find one. I'm using a book that I, when I was like sending out newsletters pretty frequently, I would do a little quote at the top that kind of had to do with either like the season or the artwork that I was posting in those newsletters. And I had used this book, was it Poetical Quotations by Ward. I think it's like one of those really old ones that has like those like yellowed pages that have just really withstood the test of time, and just like very, let me see what, I don't know if it's from the 1800s or maybe the late 18. Oh yeah, it was made in 1883, and it's in pretty good condition. And so I just like the way they describe some themes and poetry in there. And oh, it looks like I already have a page that is about sunflowers. So let me see. I would be surprised if they had stuff about lotuses, because it's not maybe up there with like sunflowers or daisies as far as like maybe like the most recognizable ones, or like as popular, or daisies or something. Okay, oh gosh. And it's sorted by alphabet, so now I have to think about, okay, L, is that before S or after S? And I think it's before S, because I just tried after it and didn't look very familiar. Let me see, O, is it near O? Oh, here we go. It is before that, so Lotus. I see some poems about love. Okay, not quite Lotus, but I think if I look up flowers, there should be a bunch of stuff for that. I like to go to antique stores and get like some books from there and just flip through those old pages. Sometimes they have these really cool looking like vintage photo books that are like very like highly detailed, and it reminds me of like a time when people really took their time with those like photo albums, whereas nowadays we just have it kind of all stored in our phone. Which reminds me that I recently lost my work phone, and I was so distraught over it for probably like a week. And what bothered me most about it was those like photos that I had taken on there, and I was like, oh my gosh, the memories, and what about all those pictures I got? So I think I probably left it at home somewhere, because I had gone out one night, and then when I got back I was like, well, wait, where did oh, I think it was at home, because I left my phone there, and then I had gone to a museum earlier in the day taking pictures, and then left it at home, and then went out later. So I don't know, it could be up in the air, like was it out, was it at home? But anyway, I have not been able to find it, and I think once I passed like a week of trying to look for it, I was like, uh-oh, this is not good. I really, really probably cannot find this. This is a bit disheartening. So, but I think I'm going to get an unlocked, another one of it, because I loved it so much as a camera, and so when I got it as an unlocked version of it, it's like a Samsung S21. The camera was so good that I did a bit of video recording with it when I had done the like day in the life of an artist, and those shots that were taken outside with the snow and everything. I had used my work camera phone for that, and it turned out really well. So and I also like the pictures that it takes. I don't have to do as much editing to get like the lighting right, because that camera does it really well, and I can get like a lot of detail from things like when I'm out and about and I want to take pictures for references. I like using that camera, so I mostly like used it as a camera, and so I was like, oh my gosh, my nice camera. But they have it was like a lot less when I just bought the unlocked version from Amazon, so I didn't try to go through a provider to get that replaced. And I think I got that phone free when I got it a few years ago, because they had like a buy one get one, either like half off or free, something like that. And my partner Aaron had needed his phone replaced, and so when he got his, then I got the other phone. So, but anyways, it was kind of a bummer to lose all those pictures, which is what I was trying to get back to, which was that, you know, if it had been in a photo album, it probably would have been a bit more safe than keeping it on my camera. But there's also, I think what I can do, because at Google, I know they had like a Find My Phone thing, but by the time I had waited to kind of look for it seriously, the battery had already died, and yeah, it was really nothing to do at that point. But before that time, I did use the Google Find My Phone app, and that was like pretty good. They were able to locate it like down to like the address or building it would be in. So I thought that was pretty handy. So yes, I think word to the wise is if you think your phone is lost, look for it right away before the battery dies. And there we go. But anyway, back to my flower. FL. Oh, there's just so many alphabet things I have to look here. Flower poem. Okay, some of these sound really old. Like, yet marked where a bolt of Cupid fell. I'm gonna go at something that sounds a little more up to date. Ooh, actually this one talks about violets, so maybe this will go along with our lotus painting today. Let's see. Oh, by Shakespeare in Midsummer's Night Dream. I know a bank where the wild thyme blows, where ox lips and the nodding violet grows, quiet over canopied with luscious woodbine, with sweet musk roses, and with eglantine. Very pretty. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in and watching this painting process and listening to me to go on about random things. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and let me know what you were up to while you were watching this video in the comments, and I will see y'all in the next video. Take care. Bye.